Okay, let's dive into a case that's unfolded recently. It's out of Michigan.
Right. Using the articles and notes you shared, it involves some, well, pretty serious allegations.
Yeah, about smuggling a specific biological material into the U.S., a dangerous one.
Exactly. So our mission really is to unpack this legal case, understand what this material actually is and why it's flagged as such a significant threat.
You even hear terms like agroterrorism being floated around, which is concerning.
It is. And the material itself, it's a fungus.
A fungus, not something you immediately think of in this context, maybe, but this one's known for potentially causing huge damage to vital food crops.
That's the core of it. So the event centers on charges filed against two Chinese nationals, Yunqing Jian and the Zunyong Lu. This was back in July 2024 in Michigan.
And the accusation is they tried to smuggle this specific fungus Fusarium graminearum into the country.
That's the allegation, yes.
Yeah.
Lu's apparently attempted entry on a tourist visa, but lacked, the required permits for bringing in biological material like this.
And Jian, the other individual,
Jian, who was actually a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Michigan at the time, is alleged to have been coordinating the attempt from inside the U.S.
Okay, so let's talk about this fungus, Fusarium graminearum. Why is it such a big deal?
Well, it's a really destructive plant pathogen. We're talking major crops here. Corn, wheat, barley, rice.
The absolute staples of global food supply.
Absolutely. When this fungus gets into a field, it can be devastating. It leads to literally billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year.
Billions. Okay, that's scale. It makes sense then why it's seen as more than just a plant disease.
Right. That potential for widespread agricultural failure is why it gets classified as a potential agroterrorism weapon. The impact could be massive.
So the accused individuals, Jian, 33, and Lu, 34, the notes mentioned Jian had received funding.
Yes, specifically funding from the Chinese government for research that was focused on this particular fungus, Fusarium graminearum.
Which brings us to the specific charges they're facing.
They're serious ones. Smuggling, obviously. Conspiracy, meaning the allegation is they planned it together.
Okay.
And then visa fraud, related to Lu's entry, and also making false statements.
And the sources also mentioned a kind of wider context here, something about the FBI's perspective.
Yeah, the FBI brings up these broader concerns, potentially linking this incident to espionage or biological threats.
Yeah.
Maybe tied to entities connected with the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, now that's a significant claim. But, and this seems really important, the documents you shared are clear on this next point.
Yes, absolutely crucial. The affidavit, the actual document, laying out the basis for the criminal charges.
Right.
It doesn't actually specify any intent by Jian or Lu to weaponize the fungus.
So the focus of the charges is the alleged illegal smuggling, not necessarily a plot to use it as a weapon.
Exactly. That distinction is really key here.
Yeah.
The charges are about the act of bringing it in without authorization, given how dangerous it is.
Understood. And what's the latest status?
As of the latest reports, Jian is in custody. Lu, however, is believed to be outside the U.S. currently.
And the University of Michigan.
They've issued a statement saying they didn't fund or support the specific research that's connected to these charges against Jian.
Okay, so just to recap for everyone listening, we've got a serious legal case here. Alleged smuggling of a really damaging agricultural pathogen, Fusarium graminearum.
Huge potential economic impact, which explains the severity of the charges and why it's on the radar for things like agroterrorism.
It really highlights the complex issues around international research, security, and, well, biological materials.
It certainly does.
And again, it's worth stressing that distinction. The legal charges focus on the alleged smuggling act itself. The affidavit doesn't detail intent to weaponize by these individuals.
Right. And that leaves us with a pretty significant thought, maybe for you to consider.
Yeah.
When you think about just how vast global agriculture is, how interconnected everything is, how does learning about a case like this focus on a tiny fungus and a specific legal charge change how you view the potential vulnerabilities in our food systems?
That's definitely something to think about, the hidden risks.